Hello out there. It's Tuesday, so it must be our Tuesday night Principal Chiro broadcast. Welcome. We have a great speaker that's coming from Ontario, Canada, and it's Dr. Sarah. But before we hear Dr. Sarah share her heart, got some announcements. And the first announcement, if they pop it up, is the Future DE meetings. We have one in October 23rd to the 26th. That's back in Atlanta. Make your reservations. Winter 2026, January 29th to February 1st. And then back to Sarasota at the Sand Key Resort, April 16th to the 19th. Put it on your calendars. Don't miss out. Remember, we want to commit 4 times a year. Come be with us. Share. I know that I'm sending out my things for the yellow team, trying to work on some other things to connect with them. And I hope the other groups are doing that as well. We're here for you. We want to hear your wins. We need help. Don't be shy. Share, call. The numbers are there. And now they're going to be a Chiro Cup in October the 3rd, but it's really important that you register by September 18th. They really want to get those early birds in so we know what to expect. It's a great event. So the information is right here on the screen. Look at it, scan it, we're ready. Okay, I had an opportunity to talk with Dr. Sarah because I really don't know Dr. Sarah, so I'm excited to hear what she's going to bring to us tonight. But I found it fascinating that she was the first woman to be the president of the College of Chiropractic of Ontario, which is a regulatory board for Ontario. And that's a big thing. It's a big thing to, shed a lot of what you need to do to be in a position to lead. So I hope we hear something about that. But she's a mom of 3. She and her husband, Tom, practice in Elmira Family Chiropractic. So Dr. Sarah, share with us. Take it away.
All right. Hi. Thanks, Minnie, for that wonderful introduction. Happy to be here tonight. I do have to be honest, 9 o'clock is my bedtime usually. So I'm normally in bed at this point. So I'm trying to pull it together. My husband and I went for a walk before this to keep me awake, which is good. So we'll see what Innate brings to me today. I just wanted to say, like most of us, Innate has been a guiding force in my life. And really, I think that was the case before I even knew what Innate was. So I'll give you a little bit about my story and we'll see what else kind of comes through at that point. So I wanted to be a teacher my whole life. I thought that's what I was going to be. I love working with kids, and I was a lifeguard and a swimming instructor for years. I had my own business and I would drive around to people's pools, and that's how I put myself through school. One summer I was a manager at a pool too, and unfortunately it was one of those areas that I usually got put in when I was working for the City of London, which is in Ontario, about an hour from where I live now. Anyways, usually the pools were really difficult. Families would live and had a lot of trouble. And that one summer, I unfortunately had to call Children's Aid multiple times. And I just knew this wasn't going to be my future. I needed to do something else other than teaching. So interesting enough, I had been going to a chiropractor since I was 7 years old. My mom took me because she thought it might help with growing pains. She was 6 foot and thought that maybe that was going to be an issue for me. I'm not 6 foot, so it's kind of funny how that all works out. But at the time, Dr. Steve was his name. He's a locum for my actual chiropractor, but he had kind of said to me, have you ever thought about being a chiropractor? And it was one of those moments, immediately I was like, I hadn't ever even questioned it or thought it, but as soon as he said it, it was an immediate, yes, that's what I'm going to do. And I guess it was a lesson for me in a way that, with our patients, sometimes we just need to say that to them, because we've had it with patients in our office. If you say you would be a really great chiropractor, and then you might spark that for them. So it's just something that happened for me. Here in Canada, you have to get an undergrad. So that's a 4-year degree. You can technically do it in 3. I did 4 at the University of Guelph. Was one of those schools that I was kind of thinking about, but it wasn't what I had originally thought. I remember walking on the campus with my mom and walking down the pathways and being like, this place speaks to me, which was like something I had never, ever said and really wasn't an acceptable thing to say in my family growing up. But it was, again, like an immediate notion of like, this was innate talking to me, but I didn't know what innate was. I ended up going to CMCC, which is in Toronto. If I had the choice now, I probably wouldn't go there, but I didn't know any other option. It was just the closest school and it was for Canada. So that's where I went because I didn't really even look at anywhere else. Met my husband, Dr. Tom. I met him in first year. We were both dating other people when we first met, but that ended. And then we started dating in second year. I innately knew when I met him, like he would be a great father and he would be a great husband one day. He had some growing up to do. And I don't think he really ever had thought about his future, but that's really a story for him to tell. The interesting thing is he had also been a patient at a chiropractic office with like more of a Medipractor office, but he also had been going since the age of 10. So I think we were some of the only people in our class that had actually been under care as children, which later, probably explains why like seeing kids in a family-based practice is so important to us. When we were first dating, he would honestly speak about being a medical doctor. And I remember being like, what are you talking about? Like chiropractic is so amazing, but he had never really seen what that was. So when we had the opportunity in second year, once we were dating, and we went to our first Pure and Powerful, which is run by Tracy and Pete Amlinger. That's a meeting in Toronto twice a year, which has become like a second home along with DE. But it's something that we don't miss. We started to really learn what chiropractic was about. And thankfully, I never had to hear that he wanted to be a medical doctor again. So that was great because then I knew we could have a real future. So yeah, our life was, we were the weird ones at school. We were the ones that believed in self-fixation, understood what that was. Honestly, we've had like 6 people that we could rely on and learn from and work with. But we kind of did it ourselves. And we're so grateful for all the amazing docs that we got to go shadow and learn from, and going to seminars and remembering like our classmates were always constantly asking us, why are you spending money? And why are you wasting your time doing all this stuff? And then, when we were done school, they were the same people being like, oh, we should have been doing what you're doing. But, we all have our own path. In fourth year, Tom and I had decided we should kind of see, like, do we want to work together? Because we hadn't really decided what our future was going to be. And so we picked, like, at CMCC, get to decide who your clinicians are. And so we decided to work with the same clinicians so we could see how that would go. And thankfully, it was people that no one else wanted to go to. So we immediately got our first choices and they actually let us adjust. It was pretty amazing. But we kind of knew from there, like, okay, yeah, we can move forward with this. So in April of 2014, right before we were about to graduate, we had kept hearing about this DE thing at Pure and Powerful. And so we were like, well, as students, like we were finished our numbers. We might as well go on this trip to Sarasota. And we had our first DE meeting. So I remember, I think I cried the entire time. I don't know how I ended up at water. I wasn't drinking, but I swear I felt like I was just crying and crying and crying. That was the first like time of really understanding the shedding the husk thing that I had heard from the stage, even from that first meeting. But it really was empowering and cleansing in a sense of being there. So that started our journey with DE too. We had decided at that meeting we're going to be at the next one, which was going to be the 50th anniversary. Or sorry, it wasn't the next one. We were going to be in the one after that. So we made that decision. We're going to be there. We didn't even really know where we were going to be or where we were practicing at that time or what our next steps were. So the interesting thing is after we left that first DE in April of 2014, a month later, we were at a wine and cheese of another chiropractic event and met Dr. Bruce Klangneck, who, interestingly enough, had just decided he was going to sell his practice. He had been in practice for over, 54 years or something like that. So an incredible career that he had had. And he was saying he had a practice for sale. He just decided and hadn't really been marketing it or anything. And asked us if we knew where Elmira was. We kind of lied and said, yeah, sure. It sounds like a great place. And looked it up later and realized, yeah, it's in Ontario. Like maybe this is an option for us. It wasn't near any of our family, but we thought we'd give it a shot and see if we loved the town, and we ended up going, and immediately we knew this was going to be our home, and it was instant. Mind you, we were sitting down with his wife, Carol, who unfortunately has passed now, but remember Dr. Bruce was talking about going on a canoeing trip, and Tom somehow, if you know my husband, he can talk to anyone, and invited himself on this said canoe trip. And we had decided, based on how that would go, would be the decision of if we're buying this practice and taking this giant leap to be in a new community where we knew no one. So the long and short of it, yep, we made that decision. He knew right from that trip, like this was what we needed to do. And so we decided to buy it. And so graduated. A month later, we got engaged. A year after that, we got married. At our wedding, my now husband looked at me and said he had originally wanted to wait to have a family, and then said he didn't need to wait anymore. So 9 months later, our first daughter was born. So you can imagine that first couple of years was quite the transition of buying a practice and, starting your life together as a married couple and learning how to run a business, and also, being pregnant and then having our first daughter. And then we went on to have more. Like Mindy said, I have 3 children, all born at home with a midwife, something I would have never even thought that was a thing until being surrounded by so many awesome chiropractors and people like teaching me about how the body is so much more powerful than we ever could imagine. And so the interesting thing is with all 3 of our children, that innate connection, I knew the exact birthday that they were all going to be born. 3 for 3, I knew the exact day. Which I always thought was interesting. And even with the first, when I was pregnant with Lila, I knew we were going to have a girl, and her name was going to be Lila, and her birthday was going to be May 20th. And that's exactly how it all planned out. So obviously we had that innate connection right from the get-go. Practicing with your spouse obviously has its own challenges, especially when you're all trying to learn how to do all of this and figure it out. The biggest thing that worked for us is we just found our own lanes. So he has the things that he's really good at. He does our doctor's report. He does more of the x-ray marking. And I take care of everything behind the scenes. So the business stuff, dealing with vendors, all that kind of stuff, that's me. And we learned pretty quickly, like, just stick to the things that you're best at and don't overlap. And then we just ask for support when we feel like we're struggling or buried. And thankfully we have a pretty incredible team. So we continue to come to D with our family. You might not know who I am because I was one of the people that are always at the back of the room, breastfeeding or feeding our kids or playing with other families. But I remember very early on, like, seeing another family who was homeschooling. I'm like, how cool is that? Like, you can teach your kids and you can have a practice and you can do all these cool things. Like, just being in that environment to see like what other people have done and what they're capable of, and that you can make it work too. It just opened our eyes to so many other possibilities for life and gave us the opportunity to, just even think of different options. So pretty cool. Our kids are sad when they don't get to come. This last D was the first time in a year that we didn't bring them. So they were not impressed with us, but they'll be back with us in October. So we can make it up to them, I guess. So in 2019, I believe it was, we had kind of committed that year to finally do 4 meetings in a row. It was just something that fell on our heart, and we decided that's what we needed to do. So the 4th of the 4 meetings, it was October of 2019, Dr. Pete was speaking, and after his talk, it was kind of Pete, Tom, and myself, and Peter was coming to the end of his term at the College of Chiropractors of Ontario, which he served for a very long time, did amazing things while he was there, but he was coming to the end of his time, and he kind of looked to Tom and said, like, I think maybe you should put your name forward for this. And my husband, knowing that that's not his lane, it's not him, kind of stepped back and was like, it's her. And I could hear them kind of talking while someone else was talking, and I just asked what's going on, and Tom told me, and I just immediately started bawling. I'm like, I just knew it was what I needed to do. It was pretty much an instant decision, not really knowing what it was going to take on our family or what the commitment was going to be, but when your heart knows and innate tells you, you just know immediately. So I've learned to trust that feeling. So I was quite honestly pretty young in practice. Some would say I was very inexperienced. I would be the youngest person on council for sure. And everyone told me you will lose, but it'll be a good experience, try. And so I did. I put my name in. I worked my butt off, called over 1,000 people, and somehow won. And I beat the person that everyone told me I would never beat. So to me, I knew it was just like, you got to put your feet down on the ground. You got to do the work. I would sit on the phone talking to answering machines at 9 p.m. with a baby upstairs who had just finally got to sleep. But it's what I knew I needed to do. If this was what I was meant to do, I was going to go all in. And so, I continued my time on the board. I've immediately started during COVID. So in 2020, I was the chair of the complaints committee within a meeting. I ended up on the executive committee, all things that everyone said would never happen. And then somehow ended up as the president, and that my whole board actually voted me unanimously, which was pretty incredible feeling to have that support. And then just term limits, you're only allowed to do 2 years before you take a year off. So I'm on my year off now, and we'll just see. I don't know where God's leading me, if I need to do more time or not. Time will tell. But I know stepping into this aspect of politics has taught me so much about myself. I'm definitely a better chiropractor than I ever was. I've been challenged in more ways than I ever could imagine, but I know it's exactly what I needed to do because God led me to that. So I'm just taking it one day at a time, seeing where it leads me. But it's pretty, when you look back, you're like, oh, okay, now I understand how it all lined up. So, now practice, we have a referrals-based practice. We do not really market, other than just taking really good care of our people. With everything that we have going on at home, we just didn't have the energy, and it was draining me to try to do all the social media stuff. So we just said, we're done. And if it makes a big difference, we'll deal with it later, but it has made no difference. Our practice has grown, probably because we're actually putting the energy into things that fuel us. The only things we really do is an article of the week, a monthly newsletter. We celebrate holidays, and we do some patient appreciation days, but practice has been more fun than ever. And I'm just so grateful that, again, we just listened to what we needed to do. And if you look at everyone else is saying what you should do, that just wouldn't have been right for us. And it might be later, but for now, we're just trusting where it's taking us. And I'm just grateful. I have the most fun practice, and it's the biggest it's ever been. Everyone said when you would get into politics, your practice will just fall apart. You're going to ruin your practice life. And just the only person who told me that wasn't true was Dr. Emlinger, thankfully. And I trusted him. and I would say he was right. So it's been a pretty amazing journey. The long and the short of it, I know God is working through me, and I know that I have more big things coming. I don't know what that's going to be. But it's evident in the way that doors just open when I don't expect it. You get the call at random times where you weren't expecting it. But the biggest thing I know is it's just divine timing. So just saying yes, as soon as I get that feeling or flutter in my heart that that's what I need to do, I just take the next step, and it's made a huge change in my life. And I'm just so grateful for Dee, for everyone that I've got to interact with. And maybe I don't get to talk to everyone at the meetings because I'm with the kids or whatever, but I know the relationships are important, whether we have a close relationship or it's just me getting to learn from all these incredible people. You've just taught me so much about life and how to trust myself and take those next steps. So I'm so grateful for that. I did have a conversation with my daughter right before she went to bed tonight, and I was like, what should I talk about? And it was just one of those moments where she's like, God will tell you what to speak about, and it'll always be the right thing. And it was one of those moments where you're like, okay. So A, they're listening, and that's why we bring them. And B, okay, we're doing okay. Because you do question, with everything we have going on and homeschooling and running a practice and this other part-time job that I've taken on, are we giving our kids exactly what they need? And then you have those sweet moments where you're like, okay, this is exactly what it is. So either way, I think that's all I have to share tonight. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Well, Dr. Sarah, that was a beautiful message taking us on your journey. And your journey is just basically trust and take action. And each time you do, more and more doors are opening up for you. And that is just wonderful. I certainly hope other people realize when they feel that feeling to trust it, but you have to do the work. And you basically taught us that.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about it too.
It came over and over and over again. And I think more people need to step up and do their thing on the boards for chiropractic. And I love hearing from a chiropractic warrior, and that's what you are. And I'm grateful. I love and appreciate you. And thank you so much for doing the talk tonight.
Thank you so much, love, and appreciate you as well.
Everybody have a good night.
Bye.